Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And I want to talk about this question that came on the channel, which was saying that other coaches are talking about that the narcissist has a lot of self-hate, shame, and insecurities about themselves. I don't, and Lisa wrote it, said, I don't think this is true. Can you talk about it? The narcissist, I mean, where we get this from, the narcissist is kind of empty of emotion. The narcissist is not living in self-hate, shame and insecurities. And let me tell you how you already know this, right? One, the narcissist is living off this supply, which is your life force energy and your resources, right, as much as they can, which means that they get a power hit over it. The narcissist is the ultimate God complex. They think they're superior to you. They think your emotions, your empathy are weaknesses. They have no empathy, right? They have no empathy because they don't feel, certainly not in the way we do. So they don't have shame, they don't have insecurities, and they don't have self-hate. In fact, any emotional response you have to them, they see as your weakness because they can't empathize with it at all. You'll know this when they've hurt you on purpose and seem to get off on it, smug, which is exactly what the lovely lady wrote about how in her experience, the narcissist seemed to kind of get off on it. They always are smug. You might think they're not being smug, that they will always look kind of pleased when you put them in line and catch them out. Their first response isn't normally like deep remorse because they have no remorse. They have no empathy because they have no emotional response. This gets serious, by the way. I've seen in my own life narcissists try and suggest that I commit suicide. I've had so many clients who've had that experience. I've had people in my groups, in my coaching, who have made suicide. I'm saying this to trigger you. I'm just telling you how serious it gets. And after a victim of narcissistic abuse, if they do go ahead and do anything dangerous to themselves, which could even just include with you retaliating, reactive abuse, the narcissist will go around telling you and everyone else, see, I told you they were crazy. See what I'm dealing with in you. Why? Because they only have contempt, no empathy, no compassion for your emotions. They will not take accountability that it's because of them. They will only believe that you are so inferior, right? They want power over you. They'll emotionally exploit you. But the fact that you have an emotional response to them makes you something they kind of hate. They think is so inferior. They look down on, they judge, and they think it's your fault. That's how the narcissist sees it. They do not live in self-hate whatsoever. No shame, no insecurities, no remorse. It's not coming from there. So I don't know where this narrative comes from. I think it comes from people from the psychology world trying to project our empathy and emotions on them, which doesn't exist. You can't deal with it. How can they say in one sentence in this psychological diagnosis they lack empathy and then project empathy on them when they show no sign of it? The narcissist, if you did something to yourself to hurt yourself because of their behavior, would tell people it was your fault. They would not feel it was their fault. They would not change their behavior. They would not go to desperately try and improve themselves. In fact, they think you're so inferior. During the love bombing stage, in that joint illusion, by the way, they always get disappointed in you because they put you on a pedestal when they first meet you most of the time. And they find out you're a human being with needs and wants and emotions, and they shell you out so that you don't have them because they think it's extremely irritating. It makes them angry. The only emotion I've ever seen is this kind of rage, the only true emotion, but it's because they just get it. They're just very destructive. That's the only vibration I think they live on, which is related to hate, but not for themselves, for you, for being not cooperative. So they will literally erode you down so that your wants and needs don't exist because they're very irritating to a narcissist who just wants to get everything their way. And you're just an energy source. You're just a supply to them. You're not a human being. They don't relate on the level of human being. They're dehumanized. So this projection because people are trying to understand it logically from some kind of psychological behavioral thing, missing the whole fact that it's a spiritual problem, it's a spiritual corruption, nothing to do with just a personality disorder, is maybe making people project empathy on them. But you can't say in the same, but the people doing it are saying in the same sentence, they don't have any empathy, they live in self-hate, shame, insecurities. No, they don't. That's the problem. They're cold-blooded, they're ruthless, they're reckless, and they're brutal. How much you've seen of that yet will depend on how much you actually know behind the scenes of what they're actually doing to you, and it depends on whether they're getting their needs met from you now or where it's going to go over time. But it only goes one way, which is to more destruction. They are an extraordinarily destructive force. We've known about them since the beginning of time. We've known about them in scriptures. You can look at the Bible. The name narcissist came from a Greek word, narcissus, even before the Bible was written, where they knew the spirit. In history, we know the spirit of this. Narcissist was completely brutal, completely corrupt, caused someone to commit suicide, had no empathy for other people, and they say in the mythology he fell so in love with himself, right, that he couldn't feel for anyone else. Right? But it's written in different ways, in different stories, in different scriptures. It's a spiritual sickness. They have no empathy. If you have no empathy, you're not living in, they don't self-hate because they don't care about what they've done. They're not insecure. They don't empathize that it's wrong. They think you're the problem. If anything, they hate you because they look down on you. That's why when they get power over you, they look smug. That's why when they see the impact on you, they blame you for your own emotional state. They think you're inferior. And if anything, they start to hate you and therefore justify everything they do against you, because you think about how quickly someone could go into a smear campaign. I mean, for a human being, like who's not dehumanized, who's not soul detached, on someone they've loved. It would be impossible for us. It would be impossible for us to do the sort of things they do without feeling terribly remorseful about it. Right? You can't appeal to a narcissist's empathy or compassion. They don't have it. They're emotionally devoid. The only emotion, if you'd call, I don't think it's actually on an emotional level with them, it's just a vibration, is they'll feel sometimes rage, but only for themselves when you do anything that hurts their ego, which is basically anything they decide that you shouldn't be doing, including your emotions will irritate them, your needs will irritate them, and over time they'll punish you for it because you're just a servant to them. You need to be shelled out, adapted into what they need you to be. In the love bomb stage, the original stage, they would have pedestaled you and thought maybe you weren't going to have your own needs. If you try to, they'll erode them and just shell you out into being what they need you to be, and they'll be very smug when they get power and control over you because that's how they think it should be. They have no empathy. Remember, no one's denying that, at least. And when you have no empathy, they can't feel how you'd feel. They don't feel guilty about it. They don't have insecurities about it. They have a superiority complex. So the only time when they'd feel insecure is when someone else thinks they're above them. They get irritated by people who have more than them. They're very kind of what we call jealous, but with them it's just like they think they should have more than everyone else. They think they're better than everyone else. So they get kind of irritated with people not praising them all the time. They want constant praise, constant ego strokes, constant. When people say attention, well, one, that's siphoning energy. They want to siphon everyone's energy. They're complete parasites energetically, and you're the host, unfortunately. But beyond that, they want everyone to worship them. It's a superiority complex, right? They think that you're there to serve them in the way they want, and you should not have any objection to that, and therefore they justify everything they do against you. In their mind, it's justified, including if they push you. Like, I'm sorry to trigger anyone on this, but I've had it in my coaching, clients and people I've worked with, so it's not uncommon for people to be pushed to, really serious levels from narcissistic abuse, and the narcissist will just use it as confirmation of how crazy you are, how unbalanced you are, how they were right, how they're right and you're the one with the problem. Not understanding, really. They know inside, don't get me wrong, they know inside, but they will project the image they want, and they think that you should be able to take it and do whatever they want you to do. That's what you're dealing with. If anything, they hate you. And they're not projecting their insecurities on you. They're intentionally creating how insecure you need to be, how much you need to doubt yourself and doubt your reality to be everything they need you to be. You're dealing with something pretty evil, well, totally evil. Know what it is. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.